Now we're going to go to the softer side of stuff in terms of our business, and I'd like to bring in Nabila, who is an image consultant. So forget the MBA, forget all of the bits and pieces. Do you look good? Do you look right? Do you have the right kind of tie? Do you have the right kind of dress? And do you project yourself well? I'm exaggerating. Is that what you do, Nabila? Is that what your life is about?
Well, that's what I do for a living. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? It's on.
You can speak in that?
Yeah, that's what I do for a living. And there's obviously a lot more to life. And I remember your comment about, whether I work inside out or just work on the exterior. I think it begins from the inside, and it's very, very important to invest in yourself, your spirit, your mind, your soul, and then your body. And the packaging is very important, as anyone in the corporate sector would say, and that's where I come in. But the fact that the product is good is a given.
So we will stay with that. I know it sounds a little bit shallow, but I don't believe it is. The question I have, Nabila, is, and this is really as part of emerging trends in corporate life, image management and the way you project yourself is extremely important. I mean, I mentioned Obama earlier. Obama is a classic case study in packaging. He's a great communicator, but he's extremely well packaged. And right down to his family, his 2.2 kids and 1.2 dogs, and every single thing is totally and completely packaged. He does it really well. Is that what you are suggesting that our business leaders and our corporate leaders and individuals should do, is to package themselves well to succeed?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it can go from teenagers to housewives to corporates, musicians, movie stars, politicians, everyone.
So what type of things does that do to an individual? Is it about enhancement of self-esteem? Is it about confidence? Is it about perception? What are you trying to reach? And what is this emerging new trend that's coming in?
It's all of the above. It's all of the above. It's the perception that you create, the impression that you set, the message that you send two-dimensionally before you even open your mouth and tell them what you have to offer, which sets your foot in the door.
Okay, so when you're talking to people, whether it's in business or politics or even in life, do you actually sit down and sort of say, these are the substance issues and these are the surface issues, and we need to address both of them? Or is it like, you come in, I'm going to make you look really good and get the right dress and the right this and the right that?
No, it doesn't.
Because to me,
like
it starts getting a bit shallow at that point in time.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. You can't just do the exterior. It's almost like a little shrinking session when I do my image consultancy. It's about a couple of hours session. I need to suss out a lot more than the exterior. We have to see where you're placed, your career, where it's going, where it needs to go, where it wants to go, where it should go, your age, your standing, your role in life, and whatever that you have and where you need to get, and then how to package yourself to get to the next level. And there are times when I end up sending my clients to plastic surgeons or shrinks, so because there's only a certain limit that I can do.
I was about to get to plastic surgeon and shrinks.
There's a lot more to it.
So you're a smarter, cleverer version of a plastic surgeon and a shrink together?
Absolutely, if need be. Sometimes just a mind coach or a yogi, so it depends on what the individual needs.
Yeah, the reason I'm interested is because I try to do both sides. I do yoga, I do meditation, I have a life coach. So that's the E part of me I was talking about. So I totally understand that. But I think at the same time we focus on issues of substance also. Thank you, Nabila, that's very kind. The panel is huge, and the topics they are discussing, so please bear with us for another 5 minutes. I've got 3 more panelists, and we'll get their opening statements, and then we'll go into the crowd and we'll start addressing it there. Now, the next fundamental leap that has taken place in the world these days, and that's technology, and how it has fundamentally changed our lives, and it really genuinely has. We have with us Rabia, and apart from editing magazines and doing some very eminent things, she's also a proponent of usage of technology for empowerment and for the development of women in business and women in leadership. And I'm going to ask you about some of the new trends that are taking place in technology. This is to do with social networking. Let me ask, do people use Facebook here? I mean, just raise a show of hands. Yeah. Do you think Facebook is good in terms of empowering women and getting women involved and stuff? Yes or no?
I'm afraid to say yes because I know what's going to come back at me.
Okay.
It's very good and very bad. Very good from the perspective of what Asad Saab talked about, where you can use technology because you have access to 220 million people on Facebook who you can potentially network with. But in addition to just Facebook, you've got a lot of other trends coming up in terms of social networking, in terms of social bookmarking. You've got a lot of women who are followed, not stalked, but followed on Twitter. You've got a lot of women and a lot of men who use stuff like LinkedIn for business networking, for contact making. But in addition, yes, it's all good. But then, just like everything else, it also has a bad side.
Sure. Can I use technology from a different context? I was having this discussion in Saudi Arabia recently, where the religious and social barriers are different. I mean, women are not allowed to work. So it's very, very fundamental. In our office in Jeddah, we actually have a closed room, which is a little bit like this, it's like a wall. And we have 6 women who work in our call center and our service center behind the wall, because if the mutawa would come in, we would get arrested. So that's how we're making women work. But what has fundamentally changed, and I talked to these women, very bright ladies, and they're saying it's technology. What they can now do from home, they have basically, technology has empowered them completely. So now 51% of the population, which is percentage of women in Saudi Arabia, are now able to connect and engage in business. Do you think that is a trend that can start in Pakistan and fundamentally change the role of women and go up from there?
It already has. To quite an extent, Pakistan has a very strong and a robust infrastructure. But, I mean, I've been writing about the local industry for 13 years. And in the 13 years, I've had the privilege to interact with all segments of society, because that's what technology is supposed to do. There's one part of society where it impacts great, and those are the people who are working in corporate Pakistan, that have access to VPN connections and enterprise databases, and they can have secure connectivity everywhere. But when you talk about the actual impact that it has on the grassroots level, on the woman who's running a pawn shop in the middle of Liari, does she have access to it or not? That's still going to take a little bit more time. But can you really empower them? Yes. Standard Chartered Bank, for example, has a blind woman who trains other blind women to run a call center.
I was talking about empowerment from actually a slightly different perspective also, and that is social and religious norms. That's why I mentioned the story of Saudi Arabia, because where we have that, we can't shift people's religious beliefs and so on, and it's not up to anybody to do that. So we work within that, and does this enable us to do precisely that? And should we be encouraging that more, and what are the initiatives that are being taken to do that?
Definitely. There are a lot of companies that now